Hello everybody, I'm Scuttles and welcome to Prehistoric Kingdom. This is the closed beta that was just released a couple days ago. It actually took me a little bit of extra time to get this because my key wasn't working at first for some reason, like I never actually had it. But nonetheless, we did have it, and I spent some time constructing a park and everything. This isn't actually it, this is just everything set up for you. Because today, what we're going to be doing is looking at the 14 different species that the game has brought for us. I originally intended on making a video of us actually making this whole park together and everything like that, but I actually had quite a few complications with the game, which I will address later at the end of this video, or possibly even just in an entirely different video. But because of those issues, I've gone ahead and just decided to make the park in my own time because it took quite a while, and we'll just look at everything. So all of this cool stuff down here is actually the park that I went ahead and made, but just simply for the fact of being able to see things better, I've gone ahead and set up these other exhibits which should be a little bit more open and easier to see into. So without further ado, let's get started. One quick disclaimer before we start though, I'm a bit sick as of the time that I'm recording this, so if I sound a little unenergetic or just a little like bleh, then that's why, so sorry. Alrighty, so I figured that the easiest, most quickest way of doing this would just be to kind of have a montage of all the different creatures and do a quick voiceover. So here you can see we have the Archaeopteryx, and you can immediately tell that there is actually male and female differentials between this one. If you look on the left, the one on the left has like a light blue tail, which would be the female, whereas the male on the right has like this very vibrant, colorful, more purplish blue tail in order to get like the female's attention, which is something neat about this, because not all of the creatures have this. This game is still very early development. But you can see the direction that they're going in. They will be trying to implement like sexual dimorphism between the males and females, not only in the colors like this, but also in the shapes and sizes of the creatures as well, which we will see with some examples later on. Anyways, moving on to the next exhibit here, we have the Microraptor. This one's pretty basic, but cute though. This here is the female with like a dull sort of color, and the males on the other hand have a yellow snout instead of this tan one, as you can see right here. But other than that, they seem to be basically identical. Moving on to the first of our actual large impressive creatures, we have the Cenozoic creatures. There's actually only one in this beta version of the game right now, and that is the woolly mammoth. Either way, it's really impressive. I like the fur shader on it. Whenever I first opened up this tab to hatch one from the nursery, the fur shader looked a little weird, which you can see in the bottom left corner there. I don't know if it really shows on YouTube or not, but it was very interesting because it looked kind of bad at first, to be honest, but once you actually hatch it out into the open, it actually does end up looking quite a bit better. Either way, you can see that there's 3 different types that we can make, all of them having different sizes. You can really see a good size differential between one of these upcoming shots here. And yeah, there's all these different types. Later on in this video, you'll see that not only do some creatures have different skin types to choose from, but there'll also be different types of like genuses or classes, whatever you might want to call them, maybe even like subspecies. I'm not sure the exact specifics of it, but here as you can see, there's like a little subclass name underneath Mammothus, and later on you'll see that that'll actually change with some creatures, so that there can be like multiple subspecies within one larger, more broad species. Moving on to the Protoceratops, we can see that these ones do not actually have differences between the males and females, but nonetheless we do have a nice set of skins here. As you can see, this first one's a bit like a brown stripy one. The second one actually personally reminds me of sort of like a Thompson's gazelle. I don't know if they went for that or not, but that leads me on to my next topic, which is something that I believe that the creators of this game did, which I was really fond of actually, is they would go out and actually do research on real life animals. This one's also really nice, by the way. But anyways, they would go out and do research on these animals in real life. Obviously dinosaurs aren't alive, but they would find creatures in real life and take their behaviors and their skin colors and everything like that and try and adapt them into this game. So many of the creatures that you do see in this game will be sharing similar sort of skin colors and patterns and other little things like that to creatures that you can find in real life on planet Earth today. And I think that that's pretty cool because not only does this inspire them to make more unique skins from one another, but it also helps them to almost feel more grounded, if that makes sense. Like it almost feels like this is a creature that you could actually go out and find in person, rather than just being a completely made up thing. It looks like it actually would almost belong here on planet Earth, if that makes any sense. Maybe I'm just crazy. Either way, this is the Styracosaurus. As you can see, this last one right here is my personal favorite. I think it's so crazy looking. I was a little bit surprised that they added on these quills on the back, not going to lie. That was a bit of a twist for me at first, but they did start to slowly grow on me. Next up here we have the Nesuceratops. So if you just so happen to fall in love with the Nesuceratops from either Jurassic World Evolution or the Jurassic World short Battle at Big Rock, and you were just really hoping that it would make its way into this game, then you do not have to worry. Because yes, lo and behold, it has made its return. This one right here looks very nice as well, this red stripy one. There's a whole bunch of different ceratopsid type species in this opening beta version, but they all looked lovely and they all felt very unique despite the fact that there were so many of them. So it was kind of cool to see that. Also, something that you might have noticed or might not have, I kind of forgot to touch on it, is the fact that these are the times whenever you can actually start to see those male and female differences starting to come out. You can see that with the little silhouette of the man in the bottom left corner, you can see that that changes whenever I flip between the male and female. And then sometimes they'll also change the skin as well. So like for example, this Pachyrhinosaurus right here, which looks lovely by the way, didn't actually change between the male and female in terms of the skin, but you can see that the height difference compared to the person as a reference on the side, that did change. The skin right here, I do actually really find myself liking quite a bit, and I believe this next one is one that a lot of people are going to really like. Look at that. A woolly Pachyrhinosaurus. It's like an absolute mammoth of a Pachyrhinosaurus. Looks like it's just perfectly suited for the cold weather. It was a bit of a shock at first, but I had never really pictured dinosaurs with this whole skin sort of thing before, but I'm glad that they went for this. It's pretty cool. Moving on to the Edmontosaurus, something that you can take note of for the male and female differences is this first one here has a head crest, a little yellow bump on the top of its head, whereas the female version does not. So you can see that those subtle little changes are starting to come in. And I believe that this is where we can also start seeing changes in subclass species. If you take a close look at the different names underneath where it says Edmontosaurus, you can see right here it says something like Anictus. I can't really see it too well in my little mini player right here, so I'm sorry if I'm misreading that. But either way, you can see that now, yes, it has actually changed to something different, and I cannot tell what that says because it's so small for me right here, but you can see that it is changing. Now, I don't believe that there is a male and female difference between these last types right here, but moving on, now we have the Parasaurolophus, and these ones are really cool as well. So you can actually see a little bit more of extreme changes between these ones. So not only is the Parasaurolophus, Walkeri or whatever this is, different in the coloration, but it's also different in the size, and the classes change as well. So here you can see this one is much smaller than the previous ones, and look at the crest, it's tiny compared to the other ones. So not only is it just like a subtle change, but this is one like that you could actually just point out from the crowd if you were just standing on the outside of an exhibit. You could easily look into there and see like, oh hey, that's a totally different species. Look how small the crest on that one is compared to the other ones. Not to mention, it's significantly smaller. And I think that's kind of cool. It's just another one of those things that gives us a little bit of variation and everything like that, which I, as you guys could probably tell by now, am quite a big fan of. This one isn't even called Parasaurolophus, it's called Pachyrhinosaurus, which I don't really know what that means, but hey ho, there you go. So technically it's like another additional species in the game instead of just 14? I don't know. Anyways, moving on to the Lambiosaurs. These ones are pretty cool. They kind of remind me of the Centaurosaurus from Jurassic World Evolution. And this one always kind of throws me. It's called the equine one, but I've never seen a horse that looks like that. Pretty sure equine means horse, doesn't it? Oh god, am I going to embarrass myself? No, I would never do that. Maybe they're just going for like a zebra. Maybe that's what they meant by that, right? Sure. Last but not least, this one I actually think is really cool for the male version. The female one's quite a bit more dull, but the male one looks very cool if you ask me. As you can see here, the female one, rather, is a bit more gray, but it still looks pretty nice. Let's see, last but not least, moving on a little bit further, now we're getting into the big sauropods. There's only one species in this first beta version, but you can see it is the Camarasaurus, looking absolutely massive, and I just loved seeing this in my game. Whenever I first hatched it, I hatched this next skin coming up, not the female version of this, but the one after that, and it was just magnificent. Like, I had just hatched it, and a little light thunderstorm started to roll over, and it was raining on it, and it just looked glorious. Like, I had this weird sort of like passion in me that just felt very like calm and happy, and it felt like I was actually at a zoo seeing one of these creatures for the first time in real life. Like, obviously it wasn't like that, but I had that sort of weird sensation almost as if I was. There was something weird about it, but I really enjoyed it. It was very cool, and I'm excited to see this game whenever it's at its peak, whenever it's fully released later on. Anyways, moving on to the big scary meat eaters, here we have the Torvosaurs. Looking real mean and cool. This one has a really nice little speckly pattern on the back of it, which I am quite a big fan of. I love the overall design of it. It looks very slick and fast and mean, especially with these neck skins here. Not that they make it look any faster, but they definitely look mean. I love this one here. I can't tell what that says. I really just like the way that this red and yellow one looks right here. Almost kind of reminds me of that one red and yellow Suchomimus skin from Jurassic World Evolution. Anyways, this next one here is a bit more of like a basic bland color. It's almost got like the opposite of counter shading. Counter shading being, you can actually see this on creatures in real life such as sharks. They're like dark on top and light on the bottom, so that whenever you're looking into the water from above, you can't see them because they blend in with the dark blue. But then whenever you're underwater looking up at them, they have a white underbelly, so that the sun shining down, it just creates this whole white slate up there. So it's pretty cool. But this one almost seemed to be opposite of that. Anyways, moving on, now we're at the Dino Chairs, which looks awesome. It looks so fluffy and cuddly. This thing looks really cool. Male and female don't have any differences for this, but as you can see, these first two skins do have feathers if you do prefer that, whereas this last skin coming up in just a second, well, maybe not yet. I thought that was it, but one more. You can see that this one's just a female version. Boom! Okay, so this one, if you're not a fan of the feathered dinosaurs, then you don't have to go that route, and you can just make them nice and scaly. This one looks very grumpy, if you ask me. But either way, it is kind of cool that you at least have the option to choose between feathered or scaly. And last but not least, folks, here we have the Tyrannosaurus Rex. This one actually comes with the most skins out of anything else that we've seen so far, which does make sense, seeing as it's the big iconic T-Rex. As you can see, this here's the molten pattern for the male, and then moving on to the female, it's basically the exact same thing, but it almost looks like someone either took down the saturation, or the printing machine that was printing these T-Rexes ran out of ink, so they're all black and white. Now this one is really cool. I believe it's called the Brumal. It reminds me a lot of that old game, the Hunter Primal. I believe there was a T-Rex in it that looked a lot like this. Either way, I'll put a picture up on screen in case it actually does look like that or not. I'm not sure. And last but not least, we have the Scorched Tyrannosaurus. And this one actually says it's a Tarbosaur, so again, it's like we got another bonus species, even though it was supposed to only release with 14. So kind of interesting. Anyways, there's the female counterpart of that. And that should wrap us up right about here. Overall, guys, I would say that this game, while it did have its issues, don't get me wrong, it definitely had quite a bit of issues in this early beta stage, which made it difficult because, as I said before, I'd originally planned on making a park with y'all, but that just wouldn't have been entertaining for y'all because it was extremely weird and finicky and kind of difficult for me to just figure out. But even though that was the case, I do see the potential in this game, and I'm excited to see it as it keeps progressing. It looks like they're going to be implementing a bunch of features, a bunch of really interesting features at that, and I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed the 14 species that this game is bringing, and you'll have to let me know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.